And welcome to episode number 79 of the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast. That's right, we're almost at 80. 80 is a cool number. Hopefully we get there, it's the new year. If you're listening to this, you might have noticed that this episode was dropped literally on New Year's at 12 o'clock a.m. East Coast Standard Time. Don't know what that means, if it means anything, but I just thought it was cool to bring out. So what can you expect from episode number 79 of the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast? Well, first we'll go over some quick NHL news and thoughts. We'll take a look at the top 10 young guns with the most sales and see what is their market doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying the same? And who are we interested in possibly investing in? And then finally, we'll take a look at some thoughts as far as what we're going to hopefully accomplish with the podcast and my collecting in the new year. I'll give you some thoughts on what I'm looking forward to maybe accomplishing and doing, and maybe some cards that I'm looking to pick up, as well as some thoughts on just overall things I'd like to do with this upcoming year when it comes to my personal collection. And hopefully you all had a nice winter break / holiday, whatever you may be doing. The New Year's about to turn on the calendar and hockey's in full swing. To kick off the NHL news, our boy Alexander Ovechkin is returning as of the recording of this episode. He will be back in the lineup. He will be back hunting down those goals to break Wayne Gretzky's record. And as you heard me mention on a previous episode, I just don't think he does it this year. I think those games that he missed will be the difference. I think he'll definitely do it next year, but this year it's going to take a Herculean kind of, I guess you could say, feat, and he's definitely the guy that could do it, but in my opinion, I think he's going to fall short. Now, in other NHL news, Canada, who is playing in the World Juniors, actually lost a game. They lost in a shootout to Latvia. I believe it was 3-2. Didn't see the game, but I was very surprised to see that a top contender like Canada lost to Latvia very early on. Hopefully they straighten things out so we can see that US-Canada final, maybe? I don't know, we will see. In other news, Patrick Laine kind of blasted the Blue Jackets and made a basic quote to say that he was tired of losing and just giving up. Kind of took a shot at the Blue Jackets organization there. Now, what I liked to see was the response of Zach Werenski. He's a stand-up guy for the Blue Jackets. I think the Blue Jackets are just a team that needs to figure themselves out. They have some amazing talent on there, and I'm glad that Werenski stood up to Laine to basically say, kind of don't care what this guy thinks. We're going to be fine without him. Good luck to him wherever he may be. I'm not a big fan of blasting your team once you're gone. I mean, if you're that unhappy, do it while you're there, make a change, be a better player, be part of the solution, people, not part of the problem. Speaking of part of the problem, the NHL suspended Rangers' Matt Rempe 8 games for his hit on Dallas Stars' Miro Heiskanen. Now, I put up a poll, or I should say a question, on the Instagram page at Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Podcast that said, what did you think about this suspension as far as, was it fair? Was it not fair? And I got a lot of responses, and I think the overall thought was the same, and it's kind of the same as mine. We don't mind players in the NHL being tough, but we just don't want them to be tough and stupid. Matt Rempe could kill somebody out there with his careless play. He's not in control. He's a less skilled player that really his size and strength is his main tool or his main piece to get him on that team. He's definitely a fan favorite, but his skill level is, let's be honest with you, trash. So if you're putting a guy like this as an organization on your line and all he's adding is that brute force element of the game, gotta admit, I'm not a big fan of that. You have to look at all these successful NHL teams around the league, and their fourth line is a productive line. I'm not saying they're not tough lines, but they produce. They score, they shut down other teams' lines, they do penalty kills, whatever they're asked to do, and they do so without the limelight. Matt Rempe's just out there to hurt people. So, in my opinion, we need to get rid of that element of the game. I'm not saying get rid of fighting and things like that. but it needs to be done properly. It needs to be managed better by the players and the NHL as well. So if we get rid of the Matt Rempe, I don't like to use the word goonism, but that's the best word I can come up with. And again, fourth lines need to produce if you want to be a Stanley Cup contending team. Rangers don't seem to have that team this year, so maybe they need to figure out what it takes to be a Stanley Cup contending team, but Matt Rempe is definitely not part of that situation. And in final NHL news, well, let's just pile on the Rangers. The Rangers scratched Chris Kreider, their longest tenured player, for a game versus the Devils. Now, some thought this was because they're looking to trade Chris Kreider. We don't know. Is this disciplinary? Is this trying to send a message to the team to say, hey, nobody's safe with the poor play? As we know, the Rangers are free-falling. They just signed Igor Shesterkin to a big deal. He's not living up to it, and the rest of the team is falling apart. Kreider's not playing well. I think he has, 7 goals and 2 assists? I mean, come on, 2 assists for a guy like this? Man, something's not clicking there. On top of that, Mika Zibanejad doesn't seem to be happy, but doesn't seem to want to be moved either. So the Rangers just look like the bad news bears of hockey right now when it comes to their management style and their overall play. Again, we need the Rangers to be good in the NHL because there's a lot of great players on there. There's a lot of great hockey cards of players that we want to pick up from the Rangers, like Matt Fox, Lafreniere, guys like that, but not when the team's in such disarray. Hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully they get things back on track, and hopefully we talk about them somewhere down the road as far as maybe on a positive level, that they figured things out, they're making a playoff run, and they're having success in the NHL. But in today's NHL news from the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast, they seem to be the team that's down in the dumps, and we're just piling on, unfortunately. I apologize for that, Ranger fans, but I can only complain about the Bruins for so long. So there's your NHL news. Now, as you know, let's get into our first segment of our episode where we take a look at the top 10 Young Guns sales for the past 30 days as far as amount of Young Guns that's sold for each player, and let's see what their market's doing, and let's see if we're interested in investing in them. So as you know, people, let's get our gear on, let's get buckled up, let's get ready to go because we're about to get right into it. But as always, before we get right into it, the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast is not a financial advice podcast. This is just an entertainment podcast. If you're looking for financial advice when it comes to trading cards, hockey cards, or anything, definitely don't listen to this podcast for that. But if you're looking for entertainment and some ideas of potentially things you want to do that you do your own research on and make your own decisions on, well, then you're in the right place. And on top of that, this episode, along with other episodes, is brought to you by My Card Post. That's right, My Card Post. We've talked about it. They are the main sponsor of the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast. They're good friends of our podcast. We've done many deals with them on the website My Card Post. So you need to go check out My Card Post if you like to buy cards, if you like to sell cards, if you like to trade cards. That's right, you can trade on this platform. On top of that, if you pay under $10 a month towards a subscription to sell on My Card Post, you keep all your seller fees. I mean, there's good financial advice, keeping your own money. Well, you can do that if you check out My Card Post. If you use the code COOKIE, you'll get 30% off that seller fee, or I should say that subscription fee, for the first 3 months. So My Card Post, it's my favorite website to go buy, sell, or trade on the internet. That's right, even over the big boys. It's a fun site, and the guy that runs it's a really cool guy who rips golf cards, believe it or not. But hey, everybody's got their own vice. Definitely check out My Card Post. Let's get right back into the episode. I thought it would be interesting to take a look at, over the last 30 days, which Young Guns cards have sold the most as far as rookie cards in hockey, whether they're in raw format or PSA 10 format, whatever the case may be. What are the 10 biggest, or I should say 10 most sales for cards, and what are these cards doing overall in the market? So for instance, we'll take a look at, say, a Connor Bedard PSA 9. We'll tell you the amount of sales that they've had. We'll tell you the last sale price, what the average was, and kind of what we're seeing as far as price change percentage-wise over those last 30 days. So we'll kick things off with a big guy or a big young gun in the hockey card trading world, and that is at number 10 with 69 sales in the last 30 days. It's Minnesota's own Kirill Kaprizov with his 2020 Upper Deck Young Guns rookie card in PSA 10 format. So a Kirill Kaprizov PSA 10. The pop count for that currently is sitting at 5,554. That's a pretty big number, but he's a pretty big player that a lot of people seem to want lately. Now, with I mentioned 69 sales in the last 30 days, what's been happening with his value? Well, we see that his last sale for that PSA 10 Young Gun, it sold on December 29th for $187 US. That is basically up about 10% in the last 30 days. We see that he's had sales ranging anywhere from $120 US to $225 US. So overall, in the last 30 days, Kirill Kaprizov's card has gone up about 10% for the PSA 10 Young Gun, and that's understandable. He was playing really well. The Minnesota Wild have kind of slowed down. They've hit a rash of injuries that unfortunately is really slowing down their production. But at the end of it all, once all these guys get healthy, especially, that can help out Kaprizov, they'll be back on track. I think Minnesota's a top 5 team going into the rest of the season. Think they can make some noise in the playoffs. Do I think they can make it to the Stanley Cup? Potentially. But they need to add some pieces and they need to shore up some things. So at number 10 on our list with sales as far as Young Guns cards was the Kirill Kaprizov PSA 10, up about 10% in the last 30 days. If we move on to card number 9 on our list as far as number of sales, then we're actually going to go to Montreal. Now we're going to talk about, and I hate this last name, but here we go. It's Logan Mailloux. I believe that's how it's pronounced. The defenseman from the Montreal Canadiens, one of the 2 good ones they have there this year. Now the card we'll be looking at is his raw Young Guns base card, so not graded. He's number 9 on our list with 79 sales in the last 30 days. Now his last sale was on December 28th and it sold for $6.31. Again, raw Young Guns card. Well, what has that done value-wise in the last 30 days? Unfortunately, his value has gone down 22% in the last 30 days. At one time, his card was selling somewhere between $15 to $20 US. Now it's selling between $5 to $8 US. So big decrease. I guess we could say the newness or the new shine's kind of worn off. Now let's see what Logan can do. And can he outshine someone like Lane Hudson, who, let's see if he's on this list. But at number 9, we're starting with Logan Mailloux, the defenseman from Montreal, where we saw his raw Young Guns card plummeting in value about 22%, where you can get one for about $6 to $7 US. But still, a lot of sales happening with this guy because he's a Canadian. My personal thought is I have a few of him. I've heard some things about him from people like From the Bench who have mentioned that, hey, they're picking them up, they're stashing them away because he seems to have a very high talent level. I've seen him play a few times. He looks pretty good, but I need to see more. So at number 9, Logan Mailloux with his raw Young Guns base rookie card. Moving up to number 8 on our list as far as number of sales, we go to Chicago and we look at Frank Nazir and his 2024 Young Guns base rookie card, again in raw format. Now, in the last 30 days, Frank, because he's at number 8 on our list, has 76 sales in the last 30 days. Now, what's his value been doing over that time period? Sadly, he's kind of following Logan Mailloux's trajectory. His card is actually down 28.5%. The last sale on December 28th, the card only sold for $6.11. Now, if we look at the history leading up to this, at one time, these cards were selling again somewhere between about $15 to $18 US. But since then, it's been decreasing. So, the newness, it's a 2024. This is a guy that plays with Connor Bedard, same team. Maybe people were loading up on him while they could early on, fear of missing out, who knows? But unfortunately, his card value is also decreased just like Logan. Frank Nazir, down 28.5%, and you can get his card raw for about $6 US. Maybe you wait a little bit longer. If he picks it up, then you're going to be paying more. My opinion, I think you can get him even cheaper than the $6 price point, but let's see what happens. So I would say on Frank, maybe you wait a little bit and see how his play continues. Now we move on to number 7 as far as number of sales of Young Guns rookie cards and what they're doing. And we go to our friends in Minnesota, and we're going to look at an interesting card, I should say, and it's goaltender Jasper Wallstedt. Jasper, we're going to take a look at his 2024 Young Guns base card in raw format. Now, over the last 30 days, Jasper's had 83 sales of this card. His card has been increasing in value. He's been playing pretty decently. His card value has actually increased almost 32% in the last 30 days. The last sale of Jasper Wallstedt's card was for $11 US on 12/28. Now, that is down. We've seen sales of his go over $20, but he's kind of settled into that $10 range, which I think is a fair price point for a young goalie like this. But that is up because back not too long ago, you could get this card for about $1 or $2 on the market. But he's played pretty well. He's shown he can play at the NHL level with the games he's played in, and I think people are taking notice, especially up there in Minnesota. My personal thought on this is I'm going to wait and see. Again, I know you can get one of these for only $10, but these are the types of cards for me that if I get in at $10, they just drop right down to $1. And now I've got a bunch of these things sitting around waiting and hoping that this guy ends up being the number one somewhere down the road. But right now, I just don't want to hold on to a card with a guy that I'm not too sure if he's going to be the number one. I think he is, but I need to see it start to happen. So I'll hold off on Jesper Wallstedt. Sorry, Minnesota. He's a great goaltender, I think, but I'm not willing to put a lot of money into him right away. At number 6 on our list of young guns with most sales in the last 30 days is the villain that we talked about with the New York Rangers, Matt Rempe. Now, Matt Rempe over the last 30 days has 86 sales for his Young Guns Raw rookie card from 2024. Now, his card has gone down 29% in the last 30 days, and the last sale for this card was $7 on December 29th of 2024. Now, when this card first came out, there was a lot of hype around him. This card was selling somewhere between $18 to $25 US on average. But as you see in the last 30 days, it's gone down 28%, almost 29%, and you can get one for around $7 US. I'm going to be honest with you. You heard my feelings on this guy. I'm not going to put nickel one into this player. Don't care about this player. He is a non-talent to me. I'm not going to put any money into it. And guess what? We're going to move on to number 5 on our list. At number 5 on our list, we get back into a graded card. We're going to be looking at a PSA 10 version of the man himself, Connor Bedard. That's right, Connor Bedard is number 5 on our list with the most number of sales in the last 30 days for a Young Guns card. 86 Connor Bedard PSA 10s have sold in the last 30 days. I should mention the pop count on Connor Bedard's PSA 10 Young Guns card is now up to 6,387. Wow, that's a lot of copies of PSA 10 Connor Bedard rookie cards. Now, what has his card actually done value-wise on average in the last 30 days? Well, sadly, this card in the last 30 days has decreased about 7% overall in value. The last sale for the PSA 10 Connor Bedard rookie card was on December 28th, and it sold for $625 US. Now, this is down from 30 days ago when they were selling for about $700 to $750 US, but again, because of his poor play, it continues to go down. So here's the question. Are we buying Connor Bedard now because he's down, or are we kind of holding? You know, I'm going to hold my opinions on this because in next week's episode, we're going to really dive into Connor Bedard investment in 2025. But right now, if you want one, it's down 7% and it's almost $600. Maybe now's the time to get in on it. We shall see, but sitting at number 5 on our list is Connor Bedard's PSA 10 Young Guns with a total of 86 sales in the last 30 days. That is down about 8%. Now we get it to number 4 on our list. Number 4 on our list with 104 sales in the last 30 days is Cutter Gauthier of the Anaheim Ducks, who, as we've seen in the press, kind of has a few choice words for Philly, I guess you could say, and Torts kind of, in his Torts way, fired back. Either way, Cutter Gauthier has 104 sales, as we mentioned. But in the last 30 days, his Young Guns rookie base card is down about 3%. The last sale for this card was on 12/28 of 2024, and it was sold for almost $13 US. Now, we saw sales of this card in the $20 to $25 range for a while. But as time progressed, as more of these cards came out, the value went down. And now you can get one for about $12 to $13 US. I still think Cutter's a solid investment. I think if you can get him under $10 US, and especially if you can grade him, I think now's the time to do that. That's something I am doing. If you don't grade, then this is definitely a guy that you want to hold on to, because I think when the Ducks get things going, maybe next year or the year after, this guy's going to be one of the sought after guys, along with, say, a Leo Carlson. But right now, you can get his Young Guns Raw card for about $13 US. I'd say if you could find it under 10, definitely start thinking about picking him up. Now we get into the top 3 number of sales, or top 3 cards, I should say, with the highest number of sales to see what their values are doing overall. I think you're going to be a little surprised with the top 3, not as far as who the players are, but as far as what their values are doing. So at number 3 on our list, we go back to Chicago and we go back to our boy Connor Bedard. But instead, we're going to talk about his Raw Young Guns card. Connor Bedard in the last 30 days, Raw Young Guns card has sold 113 times. Now, his last sale was on December 28th of 2024, and the Raw version sold for $245 US. So you can see he's going down from the release date, but that was to be expected. Now, what has his card value done overall in the last 30 days? Unfortunately, it's down about 5%. These cards were selling, I'd say a couple of months ago, closer to $400, and now look at them. They're selling closer to $200. Obviously, market saturation, poor play, poor team play is really adding up on Connor Bedard, and it's really affecting his card. I think also a lot of people have the Connor Bedard fatigue effect. If you're in the hockey card world, this is all you've heard for the last couple of years was this guy. Now, all his cards are out. Everyone's kind of tired of overpaying for boxes just to try to get one. We see that reflected in the value, or I should say the cost to buy a box now is going down. If you look at his flagship product, it's decreasing in value every single day. What do I think about his Raw Young Guns card? Is now the time to invest? I'm going to put a pin in this one, people. As I mentioned, I'm really going to dive into whether or not now's the time to get into Connor Bedard. But if you're looking to get into one now, you know they're selling for about $245 US, and that's down about 5% in the last 30 days. If this bad play and the bad team play continues, this could continue to go further south, and you may be able to pick up a Connor Bedard for under $200 raw. Man, that would be crazy to a lot of people, especially those people who paid over $1,000 for a raw one when they first came out. But at number 3 on our list is our boy Connor Bedard with 113 sales. Now we move on to number 2 on our list. Sitting at number 2 with 130 sales in the last 30 days is the Dallas Stars young micro star Logan Stankoven. Now, Logan has a 2024 Upper Deck Young Guns card, and we will be discussing his Raw card. Now, in the past 30 days, what has Logan's card done overall value-wise? Even with those 130 sales, unfortunately, his value has decreased almost 18% in the last 30 days. His card was selling on average for about $35 to $40 US, but since then, 30 days later, it's selling only for about $20.50 on average. Now, with this player, this guy interests me a lot. I love his style of play. I think he's fit into Dallas very well. I know he's playing on the number 2 or 3 line overall, and he gets on that second power play, but he's got a lot of chutzpah, as they call it. He's a high-energy player. He likes to shoot the puck. He's always in the right areas to make great plays, and I think he's going to be one of those guys moving forward, especially this year, that I'm going to definitely be picking up regularly. Just to give you an idea, I've been picking up Logan's cards for the past couple of months now, and I haven't paid over $20 once for one of his Raw Young Guns cards. So my opinion, if you find this guy under $20 raw, definitely if you're going to grade it, pick him up. But I think he's going to be someone, when we get to the end of the year, that somehow is going to break through and almost do like Jason Robertson did a few years ago, where he kind of sprang onto the scene. Everyone paid attention to him. especially when it came to the end of the year and the playoff run that they made. He was a big contributor in the playoffs. I think Logan might be that guy this year. So if you're interested in some raw prospecting, I think Logan's your guy for this year, definitely when it comes closer to the playoffs. So at number 2 on our list is a guy I'm very high on, and that's Logan Stankoven from the Dallas Stars. And you're looking at his Young Guns Raw base card. And if you can get it for under $20 US, I would definitely take a look at that, especially as we get closer to the end of the season. Well, there it is. We have gone through 9 players so far on our list of Young Gun sales, the highest number of Young Gun sales, and we've seen overall what their values have done. I would say so far, from numbers 2 till 10, you've had some that went up, but majority of them have gone down, which is something that's pretty common to us. We know when new Young Guns come out, everybody wants them, the fear of missing out, whatever the case may be, and then they settle back into their price point depending on their play. Is that going to be the case for the number 1 player on our list? Let's find out. With the number 1 spot, with 248 sales in the last 30 days, that's right, you know him, you love him, especially if you're up in Montreal. That's right, it's your number 1 defenseman of the future, Lane Hudson, and his 2024 Young Guns base rookie card in raw format. Now, currently, what has his price or his value done in the last 30 days? Hey, here's a positive note, people. In the last 30 days, Lane Hudson's card has increased in value about 28%. Yay! Finally, somebody that's really, going up in value significantly for one of these young guys. Now, you can currently, I should say the last sale for Lane Hudson was on December 28th of 2024, and the card sold for $84 US. Now, when this card first came out, they were selling, believe it or not, around $80 to $100 US. Then it settled into about a $60 price point. But recently, the value has gone up in the last 30 days. It shows by the value, the number of sales, to where he's selling for about $80 raw. Now, what do I think about Lane Hudson? I think Lane Hudson's a quick in, quick out investment for me. Meaning, do I think he's going to be a Cale Makar or a Quinn Hughes type player? No, not really. I don't think so. I think he's very talented. I see him kind of falling into that Jake Sanderson, I guess you could say, role. I think he'll be a highly productive offensive defenseman. I think he has some flaws in his defensive game. But again, in the hockey card world, you seem to love offensive defensemen, and it shows by his value with an increasing 28%. Now, what I mean by a quick in and out guy is I don't mind picking these cards up, especially if they're undervalued, and then quickly turning and selling depending on his play. I definitely like the idea of grading him because, again, he's a Canadian. That's a big market. As you can see, the demand is pretty high right now. So a PSA 10 version of this card is a nice little investment to have in your back pocket. So sitting at number 1 with 248 sales is Lane Hudson. We're high on him as far as a quick in and out investment. But if you're a big time fan of the team or you're someone that thinks he could be the next Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes, maybe now's the time to get in, especially with it being under $100 for his raw card as it stands. So what's one of the big lessons we can learn from this little exercise that we did? Well, for one thing, as you saw, of the 10 that we looked at, only 3 of them increased in value. You saw as Lane Hudson, the goalie from Minnesota, and Kirill Kaprizov's PSA 10. Other than that, everyone else went down in value relatively significantly, sometimes double digits. What that shows us is over time, unless they keep up that play, once the market gets more saturated with their card, values are going to start to decrease and really put them into their proper value level. Now, that doesn't mean that you should shy away from these players, especially if you believe in them. Example given is Logan Stankoven. Even though his value is down 18%, I am definitely looking to find Logan's cards anything under, say, $15 US, and it's in decent shape. I'm in. I think this guy's got a bright future. On the other hand, Lane Hudson's value, who has gone up considerably because, again, of demand and good play, I'm looking to quickly invest on him because I think while his market's up, now's the time where you can maybe buy, sell, and flip these cards relatively easy. And hopefully, you get it done before maybe he kind of either gets hurt or his play goes down as the season goes on, or maybe they look to develop him a little bit more, say in the AHL, whatever the case may be. You just need to be careful because, as always, defensemen and goalies are very volatile in the hockey card market or world. Now, other than that, we thought overall there's some decent buys in there with values that are down, but again, you need to do your own research. You need to feel comfortable with what you're doing, and you need to listen to other people, not just myself, but other people as far as get their advice, get their feelings, what they think about it. But at the end of the day, it's your call. You need to do the research. Be sure to do that. Don't trust anybody else's opinion on this stuff, especially someone like myself. This is just entertainment, but at the same time, maybe I give you a little shred or an idea that you run with, and hopefully you make money on it, or at least you pick up cards that you really love that you don't care if you make any money on it. So there's our list of the top 10 Young Guns cards as far as number of sales in the last 30 days, what they've done value-wise, and what our thoughts were. Well, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Did you just listen for about 30 minutes just because, you're out for a walk and you like listening to Hockey Card Podcast? Whatever the case may be, hit me up on our Instagram account at Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Podcast. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Give us some ideas for shows. Let us know what you thought about this segment. Either way, just have a conversation with us. Get involved in the conversation. It'll be a lot of fun, as it's been so far. So as we wrap up 2024, one of the things I know a lot of people out there like to do is say, hey, with the new year, I'd like to map out what some of my, I guess you could say, dreams, hopes, desires are for the upcoming year. A lot of people like to start off by saying, well, maybe I need to get in better shape. Maybe I need to get my finances in shape. Maybe I need to get my house in shape. Whatever the case may be, people like to look forward and make goals. Well, that's what we're going to do in our final segment of the episode today, and we're going to talk about some of my goals or my wish list for the upcoming year of 2025. For instance, let's start with the podcast. Things have happened over the past year that I'm very proud of. I think we've introduced some interviews, not many, but some, and I think they've gone overall pretty well. That was new for me. I've been on other podcasts as well, contributing to their pod. Again, something new for me, very entertaining. So what do I look forward to in the upcoming years as far as the podcast goes? One of the things that I really want to do is I want to interview different types of people connected with hockey, not just the hockey hobby, but hockey in itself. I've reached out to different PWHL players who are interested in coming on the show and talking about their experience and the fact that a lot of them collect hockey cards too. That would be interesting. I want to talk to shop owners, and I just want to talk to people who just collect, just have fun. So if you're out there, you want to be on the show, hit me up. To be honest with you, we're a small podcast. We got plenty of room. The next thing that I want to kind of look to for the podcast moving forward is I think instead of just doing cards and values, maybe I need to do some more in-depth, let's call them dives on certain topics. Not quite sure what that may be. One thing that was pointed out to me is why not talk about how I would value a one-of-one card? That's a great topic. Another one is, what do you do when you lose a lot of money on a card? Or what do you do when you make a lot of money on the card? Do you reinvest it? Do you take the hit personally? There's a lot of questions that come up when it comes to dealing with cards. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe I need to get into more subjects that deal with things other than cards, but are card related. The last thing, and this is probably the biggest thing that I want to try to accomplish this year for the podcast, is this. We have a great sponsor in My Card Post. He provides a lot of great stuff for the show. He's a great guy, but I think we need to grow a little bit next year. One of the things I want to really accomplish this year is do more video stuff for Instagram. And one of the things I really want to do is I want to get involved in ripping boxes and showing you the cards that I get from the rips. Now, I'm not quite sure how to do it, what the platform's going to be, what it's going to look like, but I'd like to have sponsorship for that. I'd like to have somebody sponsor me, send me products that they then get, obviously, advertising for and shout outs and call outs and all that stuff, and they provide me with a box to rip so you can see what the product looks like. I can have some fun ripping it. At the end of it all, we can give away a lot of cards. That's going to be fun. We can even give away boxes, whatever the case may be. But that's something I'm really looking forward to in the upcoming year is more sponsorship to where I can rip boxes and then either give them away or whatever the case may be. Not quite sure what the format's going to be, but if anybody out there knows of somebody or if you're interested, let me know. Hit me up at the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper podcast on Instagram. Leave me a message if you'd be interested or you know someone who'd be interested in being part of this great podcast. Those were a few things as far as the podcast goes that I'd like to maybe do differently or wish list for 2025. How about when it comes to cards now? One of the things I definitely want to do is I need to sell more. One of my main problems, and I'm sure it's a problem for a lot of people, and it's going to be an episode in the near future, is I buy cards that I think I can turn and flip very easily. Problem is sometimes I just like looking at these cards for a long period of time, and sometimes I miss the window to sell them. Does that happen to you? I think it does. One of my main problems is I need to get cards, quickly list them, and then let them go. I just have a problem with certain cards that I just think look really cool, especially if it's a cool patch auto rookie type thing. I'll look at that thing for a couple of weeks, a month, and sometimes I miss the window. So one of my goals for moving forward this year is I want to sell cards and sell them and have a quicker turnaround than I currently do. On top of that, I want to thin out some of the cards I have. I'm not saying this is my PC stuff, but I'm open to even thinning out PC stuff. I think I'm going to go through my cards. I'm going to see exactly what I have that I want to just get rid of, and I'm just going to start letting them go for whatever they sell for. And I'm going to start looking at my PC stuff to say, does this stuff still interest me? Do I need to change my PC? Do I need to add to certain aspects of my PC? Whatever the case may be, I'm really going to evaluate the cards I have in my possession, and I'm going to see exactly what we want to do with them. But I think a lot of it has to do with let's thin things out, and this way it opens up the opportunity for us to get more cards to be purchased. So again, make room for new stuff is also a goal for me in 2025. Finally, when it comes to as far as cards, I'm going to take bigger shots on cards. What I mean by that is my typical comfort level to buy a card to, let's say, turn around and trade or flip is usually somewhere between $1 and about $300. That's my comfort range. I think that's a comfort range for a lot of people out there. But I also think at times you need to take shots on relatively bigger cards. I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and buy a $1.2 million card and hopefully turn around and buy and sell it. If I did that, the next podcast basically you would hear is my wife saying that murder has happened. She's not quite sure how it happened, but eventually it'll be a documentary on Netflix. But I do want to take shots as far as maybe a $400, $500, $600 card. I mean, I've gone to the expo and I've purchased cards for my PC at $1,000. Why not do the same thing for cards I believe I can turn and flip in the same aspect? But I will be honest with you with that. I want to make sure I'm protected. I'm going to do massive amounts of research before I pull the trigger. But at the end of it all, if everything adds up, I feel good about it, I have to be able to pull the trigger. That's something that I'm going to work on for the upcoming year. And finally, for 2025, what are a couple of cards that I'm looking to possibly purchase for my own personal collection? Well, right off the bat, I will be looking this year for 3 cards mainly. The first card I really want to look at is for another Austin Matthews Future Watch Auto. I do have one already, but the problem I have with the card is the autograph is a little choppy. It's got some smudge in there. It's not a real clean one. So what I'm thinking of doing is maybe getting rid of the one I have to look for a better version of the card. So the first card I'll be looking for in the upcoming season is an Austin Matthews Future Watch Auto with a cleaner auto on there. Next, I'm going to move into a guy that I don't have that I definitely think I need to have in my personal collection is Sidney Crosby. I don't have either a Young Gun of him or a Future Watch Auto. I will be searching for one of those 2 cards, if not both, in the upcoming year. I've seen a number of his cards, up at the Toronto Expo. I think that's where I'll kind of make my play for some of these cards because it's a lot easier when you're walking around and those cards are in the building rather than looking at them online and, hoping there's nothing that you're missing. I'm in person if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want to see the card, I want to touch the card, I want to feel the card, I want to look at the card, and I want to have a great conversation with the guy selling me the card. If I have comfort levels on all those aspects, I won't have a problem pulling the trigger, especially in person. So with the second card I'll be looking for this upcoming year, it's either the Sidney Crosby Young Guns card in some format, whether graded or raw, preferably graded, or a Future Watch auto of the Sid the Kid. And the final card that I will be looking for in this upcoming year is kind of, I guess you could say, my grail card. I don't have one. I want one of his, and I don't. And I'm a big fan of him. You know I'm a big Bruins fan, and I do not have a Bobby Orr rookie card. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek because I don't know a lot of people that have this card. This is a specialty card. It's a high-end card. It is a vintage card that's highly sought after, and you see the prices on some of these things. Now, am I saying I need a PSA 8, 9, or 10? No, I can't afford that. But I would like to get something on the lower end of the spectrum. Do I mind a raw one that's all beat up? Nope, I don't at all. I think that's actually kind of cool. I would take a grade 1, 2, 3, something on the lower end of the spectrum. I don't care. I just want to get one in my collection, and if it's beat up, hey, that's what the card should be. How old is that card? It's probably older than me, I believe, and I want one. So the final wish list item for 2025 for the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper is a Bobby Orr rookie card in some fashion. So there it is. There's my thoughts on some things that I'd like to improve for in the upcoming year. How about you? What are you looking to accomplish in the year 2025? They still haven't given us hover cars yet, but we're getting closer. We have cars that drive themselves. I don't know about that yet. I rented one. It does work, but I just have a feeling that if my cell phone doesn't work or my iPad or my laptop doesn't work 100% of the time, why would I believe in this technology working 100% of the time too? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But until the future comes, what other things are you looking forward to doing in the year 2025? Let me know. Go to the Instagram page, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Podcast. Let me know what your goals are for the upcoming year in 2025. And there you have it. There's the siren to not only end our period, but to end our podcast as well. Episode number 79 was a fun one. We went through some news, I guess you could say, early on. We kind of, vented our frustration with a certain Rangers player. I apologize to you Rangers fans. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this guy because I know what it's like to have a player that nobody else in the league likes, but he's on my team, so I love him. But I'd like to hear your angle when it comes to Matt Rempe and kind of what he's done. And do you agree with what's happening as far as suspension? Disagree? Let me know either way. Then we took a look at the top 10 Young Guns cards as far as number of sales or most sales and what their market's been doing overall. Other than someone like Lane Hudson and a Kirill Kaprizov, a lot of those Young Gun cards were decreasing in value, but still, that may be the time to get in on them, especially if you think that they're going to turn their play around. And finally, we went over our wish list for 2025 when it came to things like the podcast, basic things like cards, sales, whatever the case may be. I gave you my thoughts on what I'm looking to accomplish. I'd love to hear what you're looking to accomplish in the upcoming year. As always, we'd like to thank each and every one of you who tunes in to listen to the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast. The podcast numbers grow daily. We see a lot of new listeners finding the channel every day, and that's thanks to a lot of the people out there who listen on a regular basis. You're sharing with friends, they're finding us on here. On top of that, if you haven't already done so, whether you're a new listener or someone who's been around for a while, you haven't done so, give us a subscribe on Spotify or on YouTube. Doing so helps out the channel. It helps that great algorithm in the sky to push it out to more and more people, and that's what we want. More people getting into the hockey card market or world so we can all have great discussions and we can buy, sell, and trade cards with more and more people. Other than that, I think we covered everything for our podcast, episode number 79, and I think it's time to get out of here. So, for the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast, I'm your host, Jay. Not only do we hope to see you soon, but we hope to see you in the year 2025.
Cookies crumble, stories told. In this world, so young yet bold. With puck and stick, they chase the gleam. Live in every child's bright dream. The Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast, where dreams of victories are cast. Rich Marner's passes flying high, William Nylander's goals in the sky. Cookies crumble, stories told, in this world so young yet bold.